For years, nutrition debates have focused on individual nutrients: fat versus carbs, sugar versus calories, protein versus plants. These arguments dominate headlines and social media, but they often miss the bigger picture. While people argue about what to eat, a much larger issue has quietly reshaped diets around the world. And according to global health experts, this issue plays a bigger role in modern disease than any single nutrient ever did. That issue is the rise of ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are not just foods that come in packages. They are products that have been heavily altered from their original ingredients through industrial processing. They often contain refined starches, added sugars, industrial fats, flavor enhancers, emulsifiers, and preservatives. These foods are designed to be cheap, convenient, long-lasting, and extremely easy to eat. What makes ultra-processed foods so powerful is not one ingredient, but how they interact with the body. They are engineered to bypass the systems that normally help us regulate hunger and fullness. When people eat these foods, they often consume more energy without feeling satisfied, not because they lack control, but because the food itself is designed that way. This is why ultra-processed foods have become central to global nutrition concerns. Across countries and cultures, diets high in ultra-processed foods are consistently associated with higher risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and certain cancers. Importantly, these risks appear even when calorie intake is similar. That tells us something crucial. The problem is not just how much people eat, but what kind of food dominates their diet. One reason ultra-processed foods are so disruptive is how quickly they are eaten. They require little chewing, digest rapidly, and deliver energy in a form the body absorbs almost instantly. This leads to rapid blood sugar spikes followed by drops that trigger hunger soon after. Over time, this constant cycle places stress on metabolic systems. Another issue is fiber. Ultra-processed foods are typically low in natural fiber, which is essential for slowing digestion, supporting gut health, and stabilizing blood sugar. When fiber intake drops, hunger increases and regulation becomes harder. The body is not designed to thrive on energy alone. It needs structure in food. Ultra-processed foods also change eating behavior. They are often eaten alone, on the go, or mindlessly, rather than as part of structured meals. This makes it harder for the brain to register satisfaction. Eating becomes fragmented, frequent, and disconnected from hunger cues. Global health experts, including those advising the World Health Organization, warn that the problem is not occasional convenience foods. It is when ultra-processed foods become the default: breakfast, lunch, snacks, and dinner, day after day. This pattern now describes a large proportion of modern diets. What makes this especially concerning is how normalized it has become. Many ultra-processed foods are marketed as healthy. They are labeled low-fat, high-protein, fortified, plant-based, or natural-sounding. These labels create a sense of safety, even when the underlying food structure remains highly processed. Nutrition labels alone do not capture how food behaves in the body. Another reason ultra-processed foods are such a problem is displacement. When these foods dominate, they push out minimally processed foods that naturally support health. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, and simple home-prepared meals provide fiber, micronutrients, and satiety that ultra-processed foods cannot replicate. Over time, this displacement contributes to nutrient gaps and chronic inflammation. Importantly, global health experts are clear that this is not about blame. The rise of ultra-processed foods is driven by food systems, pricing, marketing, and time pressure. These foods are often cheaper, more accessible, and more aggressively promoted than healthier options. When unhealthy choices are easier, they become the norm. This is why the World Health Organization increasingly frames nutrition as a systems issue, not just an individual one. Health outcomes are shaped by environments, not just personal decisions. Still, awareness matters. Understanding the role of ultra-processed foods allows people to make better choices without guilt or obsession. The solution is not perfection or fear. It is changing the default pattern. When most meals are built around minimally processed foods, the body regulates appetite more effectively. Hunger becomes clearer. Energy stabilizes. Flexibility becomes harmless rather than risky. This also explains why calorie-focused advice has failed so many people. You can technically eat within calorie limits while relying heavily on ultra-processed foods and still feel hungry, tired, and unwell. Calories alone cannot capture food quality, satiety, or long-term metabolic impact. Ultra-processed foods are not dangerous because they are evil or addictive in isolation. They are problematic because they are everywhere, easy to overconsume, and poorly matched to human biology when eaten daily. The harm comes from frequency, not from occasional enjoyment. This perspective removes fear from eating. You do not need to eliminate packaged foods entirely. You need to be aware of what makes up the majority of your diet. Small, consistent shifts towards simpler ingredients and real meals make a meaningful difference over time. In a world full of nutrition noise, this understanding cuts through confusion. The biggest nutrition problem today is not fat, carbs, or sugar alone. It is the dominance of ultra-processed foods in everyday eating. Once that becomes clear, many other debates fade into the background. Health improves not through extreme rules, but through quieter, more sustainable patterns that work with the body instead of against it. If you want more clear, science-based explanations without diet hype or fear, feel free to follow along. Sometimes the real problem isn't what we argue about, it's what we stop noticing.